What's going on, guys? CrustyKs here from GoldBoys.com, coming to you with the MLB slate preview for May 19th. We got a pretty big slate on our hands, so let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into it. The first one here, Cincinnati Reds taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Nick Lodolo versus Mitch Keller. I mean, I am pretty anti both these guys, truthfully. This Reds team's been hot, though. They just swept the series against the Guardians. Another role in Pittsburgh here. Mitch Keller's a guy who, I personally don't think is very good. Nick Lodolo, the strikeout stuff's not there, but he's pitched pretty well overall. So I'm going to back the Reds here on the money line, minus 120. This really just comes down to, I think Mitch Keller struggles in this spot. He's a guy that likes to fill it up, and there's some lefties on this team who can do some damage, mainly in Gavin Lux and Ellie, assuming Ellie doesn't strike out a million times. Will Benson's also been incredibly hot, so I wouldn't be surprised if Will Benson gets a hold of another one here. This Mitch Keller guy is one who really likes to give him up. So, yeah, give me the Reds money line here in this first one. Our next one, the Cubs taking on the Marlins. Ben Brown versus Edward Cabrera. If there's ever been two guys who have a very similar pitching style, going head to head, this would be the one. You have two guys who could strike out 10 on any given day, and two guys who could walk 10 and give up 10 on any given day. So, interesting pitching matchup here. I was a little surprised his total just 8.5, but I think a lot of it has to do with the inconsistency of the Marlins offense. But for me here, I want to get involved in the over in some way, whether it be a Cubs team total or the full game over. So I'll leave you guys with both. Stronger lean to Cubs team total, but like I said, I couldn't really talk anybody off of the over. I do think both these guys can give up some runs. It's just a matter of if you want to trust Miami or not, truthfully, because that team's been a little difficult to trust. They did show some life in that Tampa Bay series, so maybe they're starting to figure it out a bit. But with no Xavier Edwards, it just makes it really tough to trust this offense. Our next one here, New York Mets taking on the Boston Red Sox. Kodai Senga versus Hunter Dobbins. I'm going to be on the Mets in some capacity. My line right now is minus 140. It's a little short in my opinion, but I think you're getting a little bit of a tax there with them coming off Sunday Night Baseball and obviously the Subway Series. So we look at this one, and what I really like here, Boston's definitely hot, but they're a team that likes to chase, and obviously Senga, his pitch mix with the Ghost Fork, elicits a ton of chase. So I think this is just a really bad matchup for Boston's lineup. Obviously love the back end of the Mets bullpen a ton. So even if this one's a bit of a snoozer, maybe a little low scoring because both pitchers kind of have an edge here, I do think the Mets pull this one out. So give me the Mets on the money line at minus 140. The next one here, the Houston Astros taking on Tampa Bay Rays. Colton Gordon versus Brian Pepiot. Colton Gordon was absolutely horrendous in his first outing. I don't think a lot's going to change here, truthfully. This Tampa Bay team, they haven't hit lefties well, but Colton Gordon's a guy who, in my opinion, doesn't elicit a ton of swing and miss. And when you don't do that, and when you can't blow it by these Tampa Bay bats, you're going to struggle because they're a team that makes a lot of zone contact. So I like the Rays here on the money line, minus 130. Don't love backing Pepiot. He's a guy who I just really can never seem to get on the right side of. But I'm not really afraid of this Astros lineup, especially on the road. They just haven't proven to me that they can score consistently. If you've been watching them, it's actually been quite comical watching them away from home. So maybe the trash cans aren't on the road, which it's a joke from last or a couple seasons ago. But I think it still stands because the home and away metrics for this team have just been absolutely horrendous. So give me the Rays here on the money line. Our next one, Seattle taking on the Chicago White Sox. Luis Castillo versus Davis Martin. Quietly a pretty big Davis Martin supporter. I think he's pretty good. Not a big Luis Castillo guy by any means. I think this one get a little weird early. I like the White Sox in the first 5 plus the half. This really just comes down to me, Davis Martin, his ability to work that changeup against the Seattle team that's really starting to strike out a lot again. They had a stretch where they were looking a little bit better and like they weren't going to just swing at everything, but they've kind of fallen back into some bad habits, and I think Davis Martin can take advantage. I'm not willing to back the White Sox full game because their bullpen is one of the worst in baseball, but I do think the White Sox in the first 5 can get this one, like I said, plus a half run. Our next one, the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Dean Kramer versus Quinn Priester. Will Baltimore ever win a game again? I really don't know. This team's been abysmal. If you look at their metrics, they aren't as bad as they've looked. They just simply can't hit with runners in scoring position. And obviously, if you can't hit runners in scoring position, you're not going to score a lot of runs. So it kind of seems to be the issue here. It's continued to be the issue. Do they figure it out against this Milwaukee team? I truly don't know. I really don't want to back Quinn Priester. But also, my issue here is, as much as I want to back the over, both these offenses have been really inconsistent. Milwaukee's one of the worst teams in baseball right now against right-handed pitching overall. So I'm going to give out the Orioles money line. I absolutely hate it, truthfully, but that's the way I'm leaning this one. It's disgusting, but Dean Kramer has been surprisingly really good for this lineup. or for this team. So give me the Orioles on the money line. I think they finally get back in the win column here. These next couple we're going to talk, the next couple we're going to talk about have quite a bit of rain in the forecast, so we'll see if they even play. But this first one here, Cleveland Guardians taking on the Minnesota Twins. Logan Allen versus Bailey Over. Twins finally had their winning streak snapped, if I'm not mistaken. Now they go back home, playing a Guardians team who just got swept by the Reds. Really interesting spot here. I'm pretty heavy on the Twins. I think they're a good team. I think the pitching staff's been outstanding. The bullpen's been, elite. And I think they win this one. Cleveland is a team who, in my opinion, right now is scuffling. And when you go from one road stadium to another road stadium, I don't think you really fix your problems there because, as I always say, you really can't fix a slump until you get back home. So I think Minnesota Twins take advantage here in Game 1. Logan Allen is a guy who's been a bit of a luck box this season. Somehow has kept his ERA under 4, but the advanced metrics, the expected metrics, don't look very good. So I think that regression is coming here in a big way. Twins, obviously, a team that's very familiar with him. Give me the Twins on the money line. Our next one, the Detroit Tigers taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Eder Montero versus Sonny Gray. I mean, I'm a big Sonny Gray guy. Always have been. These two teams, probably two of the hotter teams in all of baseball. It's going to be the Cardinals for me here. It's minus 150, so I don't love it. This would be a spot where I probably would opt for like a PPD with Sonny, assuming he has a better start than his last one against the Phillies, where he ran into a bit of a buzzsaw. Probably like 4 or 5 Ks in the money line, get you close to even money. That's where I'd be. Like I said, it's no fun fading the Tigers, but I do think it's the right side here. Eder Montero is gasoline on a flame. I think this Cardinals team can really get to him here. Our next one, the Phillies traveling to Colorado, take on the Rockies. Christopher Sanchez versus Kyle Freeland. I mean, Phillies team total over. Kyle Freeland continues to be a dumpster fire, especially at home. The metrics are absolutely horrendous if you looked at them. I don't have him sitting in front of me, but I want to say his FIP was like close to 8 or 9. He's just getting tattooed at Coors. This is just not been a good season for him. I don't see that changing here. So I like the Phillies team total over. Obviously, if you want to put the Phillies money line on like a parlay, I'm sure it probably comes through. But I just want to avoid like any kind of liability on minus 275 money line and opt for the over team total here for the Phillies. Our next one, Kansas City Royals taking on the Giants. Chris Bubich versus Robbie Ray. I like the Royals here, truthfully. On the road, don't love backing this team on the road. Just the same way I don't like backing the Giants, period. But for me here, Chris Bubich has been really, really good. Robbie Ray's kind of starting to figure it out a bit. But again, I'm not really sold on him being good this year. I think it's been a little bit of luck, a little bit of the matchups that he's had. And I think this is a spot where both teams honestly probably struggle to score because these offenses stink. But I think Chris Bubich has the upper hand here. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out and has another gem. The guy's been absolutely outstanding. Sub 2 ERA. FIP, I believe, is like right around 3. So the guy's been really, really good. Like him to keep that going here. Give me the Royals on the money line at plus money. Our next one, the Angels taking on the Athletics. Jose Soriano versus JT Ginn. So Ginn is back. Jose Soriano has been outstanding. I was a little surprised to see the Athletics favored here. I mean, maybe not because they're at home, but that's the way I'm leaning. I like the Athletics on the money line. Ginn looked really good when he was pitching. Obviously, he struggled a bit, but this Angels team, I'm not really buying into what they just did against the Dodgers. I mean, that was like a generational series for them, truthfully. Pretty much doing whatever they wanted against the Dodgers pitching staff. I think they come back down to reality here, maybe a bit of a letdown spot, if you will. Just riding the high of that Dodgers series. I think they kind of come crashing back to reality here, and the Athletics get to Soriano and win this game. The last one on our slate here, the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Brandon Pfaadt versus Landon Knack. I am the anti-Landon Knack, always have been. This Arizona team comes into this game kind of starting to find themselves a bit. The Dodgers obviously coming off that embarrassing series against the Angels. I like the over here. The total sitting at 9.5. It felt pretty high to me when I first looked at it. And I think it's for good reason. Pfaadt is a guy who just saw this Dodgers team, so inherently, when you see him a second time, it gives them an advantage. And Landon Knack's a guy who I just don't think is very good. So I like these lineups kind of figured out. Dodgers, like I said, coming out of the Angels series where things didn't really go their way. I think they go back home here and they kind of get the bats going against Brandon Pfaadt, who they'll be seeing for the second time here. And the Diamondbacks, I just like them to stay hot. Like I said, total at 9.5. That felt pretty high for an opener for this game, in my opinion. So give me the over 9.5 here. That does conclude the slate. Before I hop off here, though, my 3 best bets for this slate tomorrow. I like that over 9.5. It's probably my first one in the Arizona Diamondbacks Dodgers game. Number two would be the Reds money line, and number 3 will go with the Orioles on the money line. So absolutely disgusting, but I do think the Orioles finally get back in the win column here As always, you can get all my official plays at GoldBoys.com. If you have a gambling problem, don't want to hurt a gambler. Thank you guys.